wind that morning carried the scent of damp leaves, the kind that clung to the air after a night's quiet rain. He sat on the park bench, coffee cooling in his hands, watching joggers pass by. Each one seemed to have somewhere to be, while he had nowhere at all. 2 months had passed since the company meeting where his position was cut without warning. His savings were thinning, but that wasn't what kept him awake at night. What haunted him was the echo of boardroom conversations, the forced smiles, the colleagues who looked away instead of saying goodbye. His mind replayed those moments like an old film stuck on a loop. Regret became his companion, anger his shadow. He would catch himself muttering what he should have said, how he should have fought harder. The weight of those thoughts was like carrying a bag filled with stones everywhere he went. That morning, as he traced the rim of his coffee cup, a voice startled him. "You hold that cup like it might shatter," the elderly man said, settling onto the bench beside him. His eyes were pale, the kind that seemed to have seen too much, yet still softened when they met yours. They spoke little at first. The old man watched the pond while feeding breadcrumbs to ducks, his movements unhurried. Finally, he said, "You know, the mind is like this pond. If you keep throwing stones in, the water never settles." The words hung in the air, unfamiliar, yet strangely true. He didn't respond, but they stayed with him long after the old man rose and walked away. The next day, he found himself at the park again, and there the man was, as if waiting. This time he spoke of his years as a teacher, and how he had seen minds fill with so many thoughts that they left no room for learning. "Empty your mind," he said, "and the rest will come." It sounded simple, almost too simple for the mess in his head, but something in the old man's calmness stirred a faint hope, the kind he hadn't felt in months. That night, lying awake, he realized he'd spent hours not thinking about the layoffs, but about the ducks, the pond, and the stillness he had seen in the old man's eyes. And for the first time in a long while, his chest didn't feel quite as heavy. The following mornings became a quiet ritual. He'd walk to the park with coffee in hand, finding the old man already there, sometimes humming, sometimes simply watching the sky. The conversations were never long, yet they lingered like gentle ripples in his mind. One morning, the old man handed him a small stone. "Toss it into the pond," he said. He did, and the ripples spread outward, disrupting the glassy surface. "Now, wait." They sat in silence as the circles faded until the water returned to stillness. The old man finally said, "Thoughts are like that. They come, they move you, but if you let them pass instead of throwing more in, your mind clears." He began trying this at home. Whenever a bitter memory surfaced, the moment his manager avoided eye contact, the sound of polite clapping in that suffocating meeting, he pictured the pond. Instead of diving in, he let the ripples fade. Some days it worked. Other days he still drowned in the noise. But slowly, the gaps between the storms grew longer. One afternoon, he saw a former colleague across the street. The old him would have crossed to avoid them or braced for awkward small talk. This time, he simply nodded, a quiet smile on his lips. No anger, no resentment, just another ripple passing. Weeks turned into a month. His savings hadn't magically grown, nor had a new job appeared. But something inside had shifted. The heaviness in his chest had given way to a calm he didn't recognize. He noticed small joys again, the way way the wind rattled the park's branches, the laughter of children chasing pigeons, the sun slipping through the clouds in gold streaks. One evening, as the sun dipped low, he found himself walking by the pond alone. The old man wasn't there. He sat anyway, watching the water's stillness. The air was cool, the world unhurried. He thought of how desperately he'd once tried to control his life, only to watch it all scatter like breadcrumbs on the water. And he understood. Peace was not in holding tighter, but in letting go. That night, as he lay in bed, his mind was empty, but his heart was full. Sometimes, the most profound change begins not with gaining something new, but with releasing what we have been gripping too tightly. An empty mind is not a hollow one. It's a space cleared for clarity, for peace, for a life unburdened by the noise of what no longer matters. When we let the ripples fade, we begin to see the reflection of who we truly are. If this story touched you, take a moment today to pause, to breathe, and to allow your own mind to settle. And if it brought you value, share it with someone who might need it. Leave your thoughts below, and join us for more stories that remind us of the quiet strength within us all.